So I want to speak about fat loss for footballers and why for you as a footballer, decreasing your body fat percentage might not be as straightforward as it is for someone in the general public. And a good place to start this is something I call the double whammy effect. So the first place where people usually go in their heads when they're thinking about, I want to lose fat, is they think, right, I need to train more, I need to work out more, and I need to eat less. Okay, and that will create a calorie deficit, which will lead to fat loss, which on the face of it, if you think about this in simple terms, is fine for someone who's, general public. They haven't got to think about fueling themselves to perform on the football pitch. But for you as a footballer, that way of working could lead to a whole lot of issues that I'm about to get onto shortly, which I'll explain for you. So really, if we're thinking about being in a calorie deficit and doing it in a safe and sustainable way, 250 to 500 calories per day is really, that's the maximum you want to go, 500 calories. If you go more than that, it's going to lead to a whole lot of issues for you as a footballer. But if we're doing this double whammy effect and we're training more and we're eating less, then that calorie deficit is just going to open up to a much wider range than it would if you were just focusing on the nutrition or just focusing on the training. So if you're training more, that means you're using up more of your muscle glycogen. There's more wear and tear to your joints, your ligaments, your muscles, and you need calories to be able to recover, restore your muscle glycogen levels so that you've got sustainable energy throughout the week to maintain your performance level and be ready for your matches and to recover well. And if you're in too big of a calorie deficit, then it's going to lead to things like overuse injuries. As I said, you're not going to be able to sustain your level of energy throughout the week consistently. It's also going to affect you mentally as well. And you might find if you're at too big of a deficit, if you're holding yourself back too much, restricting yourself too much, then it's going to lead to you having a massive binge, and then it's something that's not sustainable. So having something that's sustainable and that you can stick to is really the key here. And we don't need to overcomplicate this too much. We don't necessarily need to do more training and eat less. It could just be a case of you just need to look at your diet and change your foods around, maybe take some foods out, add some different ones in, and just be in a 100 calorie deficit or 200 calorie deficit. Yes, it's going to take longer for you to achieve the fat loss that you might want, but it's then not going to negatively affect your performance to the same level that it would if you restrict yourself too much. Or you could think, I'm going to eat the same amount of calories, okay, but I'm just going to do a little bit more training. And that, if we're thinking about this in a smart way, if we don't want to cause too much extra stress to the body, then that extra training to achieve a calorie deficit of either 100 or 200 or 300 calories, just something small, might just be going for a walk every day, once a day. Low intensity, it's not going to cause too much fatigue and stress to your body. It might even help it might help you mentally as well, and you're burning more calories, but you've kept the calories that you're taking in per day the same. That might be the smarter way of doing it, rather than trying to smash your body, torch the system, thinking I've got to train more, I've got to eat less, I need to get my body looking like this. That's not going to lead to the best scenario and best situation to be in when it comes to performance as a footballer. You need to put that performance level ahead of what your body looks like, okay? And if we can do this in a sustainable way, you're going to be healthy, you're going to be able to fuel yourself to perform, you're going to recover well, you're going to give your body the nutrients it needs to recover, adapt, and not lead to overuse injuries, and you're going to be mentally in a good place as well, because you're not going to be restricting yourself and you're not going to get mentally stale and get burnout in terms of the psychological side as well. So again, I want to get this idea across that the slow way is the fast way. If you try and do this in too big of a jump, chances are you're going to feel very restricted. It's going to lead to you having a massive binge, or it's going to lead to things like injury. Your performance level is going to dip because you're not recovering your muscle glycogen levels. You're training more, so which means you're using up more muscle glycogen, but you're eating less, which means you're not restoring those levels. It's only going to keep going downhill from there. It's going to be a compounding effect. So we need to be really wise about how we do this. And it might just be, as I said, a simple thing to add in. I'm just going to go for a 30-minute walk every day. I can do that sustainably, and that's going to lead to fat loss. So that's just one way of thinking about it. Not providing too many stresses. What's the simplest way we can do this, which is actually going to help us and not negatively affect our football performance first and foremost. I've mentioned how it can lead to mental issues and also overuse injuries as well. But I want to get onto this idea of lean versus fit. So you can be lean, have a low body fat percentage, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're fit. That doesn't mean you're going to feel like you've got more energy on the pitch. And you can be fit and have plenty of energy on the pitch and have great levels of stamina, but not be the leanest player. So these two aren't connected in thinking, well, if I get leaner, I'm going to be fitter, or if I get fitter, I'm going to be leaner. As with the last video I did, there's other things you need to take into account here in terms of making sure you have something sustainable, as I mentioned, and most importantly, making sure you can stay on the pitch, which means not developing injuries and also being in a good place psychologically as well. So a smart way to do this, if you're a player who's already training hard and you're really not happy with your body fat percentage and want to get that down, is in the morning, go for a walk before you have breakfast, because then your blood sugar is already going to be low. And we're trying to pick times in the week where your body is in the best situation where you can start burning fat straight away. Okay, so there's something called the traffic light system, which Sean, our nutritionist, talks about in the Matchfit squad. And this is something that clubs use, and it's a really smart way of doing this. So they might train fasted, do a fasted training session when it's a training session where performance level isn't the main priority. So let's say a team hasn't got a match for 2 or 3 weeks and they're just in their own environment training, and they feel like the players could benefit from getting their body fat percentage down a little bit and getting rid of some of that and feeling a little bit lighter and more explosive by decreasing the body fat percentage. Then they can use something called the traffic light system. So it's like, well, this session, the main priority isn't performance, and we can afford the players to do this in a fasted state perhaps. And that would be a time where they could train and be burning a high percentage, or using fat as a high percentage of their fuel when they're doing that session. Just like if you go on a walk in the morning before breakfast, they might do the same thing. They might do a training session which doesn't require high levels of performance, but it's still going to require, a fair bit of energy, and it's going to enable them to be predominantly burning fat, and they're targeting that. But there might be other times, so that would be a green light. There might be other times where it's a red light, where you think, we absolutely can't do that. We need to fuel the players up with as many calories as we need. We need to get their muscle glycogen levels restored. Maybe it's the day after a match when, the 48 hours after a match, you really need to focus on recovering and getting as many calories in as possible to help you recover, because you've got a high risk of injury if you start training again straight away. So a time where it's not a good idea, maybe before a match or after a match, you don't want to be doing something like that. But if you can pinpoint a time in the week where that's absolutely fine to do, then that would be a smart time to do that. So that's the traffic light system. Again, if you want to learn more about that, it's inside the Matchfit squad. Send me a message if you want to get inside there. But just to summarize, try and think about this in a smart way and try and take small steps each day. And a great quote I actually heard recently is, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying the bricks every day. So if you just lay one brick every day towards your fat loss goal, then eventually that's going to reach the desired effect that you want it to, but it's not going to limit your football performance at the same time. So try and avoid this double whammy effect where you're training more and you're eating less and you're trying to do it in a rush. It's going to lead to injury issues, it's going to lead to performance issues. It's going to mean that you're not recovering as well. All of that's going to affect your football performance. Maybe there's people watching who you need to impress. You think that the way you look and you're getting your body fat percentage down is the way that you're going to increase your performance to the level you want to get it to. But we need to think the slow way is the fast way. If you do it in too big a jump, it's going to lead to you having probably a setback in terms of maybe an injury or even overeating. We want something that's sustainable, that you can stick to consistently every single day. You know what you're getting and it gets the job done. Again, in the general public, you might find it's more focused on that simple thing of consume fewer calories than you're burning and you'll lose fat. That's fine, but for you as a footballer, when performance is the main priority, you need to think about all the other things that's going to affect. And one of the main ones obviously is injury, but the other thing is making sure that you're recovering your muscle glycogen levels, because that is going to provide the fuel for your explosive football actions out on the football pitch. So I hope this video helped. Please like and share it with your teammates and your coaches if you feel like they'll benefit from this as well. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you again very soon.